So the first component in the foam truck will be in here, which is our pre-plan. It'll be up at the front seat here. You can open it. It's broken down with information about anything from the ethanol rail spur to the tanks to the MSDSs for the fuel and types of chemicals that are there on site. The biggest part that we as firefighters need to be concerned with is going to section 7. And all of these are aligned with the tank numbers on site. So if we had a fire at tank 8, correction 7 here, at the top, tell us what chemical is there. This is diesel. You can see the overlay plan, what tanks are being exposed by the fire in it. At the bottom, those tanks and how much water should be flowing to properly defend those tanks. And also some more information where our water is, where the foam chambers are. The second page is our offensive operation. This will give you the amount of foam that you need to have on hand, how much foam you should be creating, at what rate you should be flowing at, and information for the tank itself, how much fluid could be in the total tank. That is the biggest component of the pre-plan that I want you to be aware of. Our first compartment has what we like to call the flux capacitor. It is a round the pump proportioner made of 2 major pieces. This one here and this up top. It's held in by a small pin. Take the pin out and this piece comes out. So these 2 pieces work in tandem. This one has 3 settings of open, auto, and closed, and is set up on the intake side of your engine. So you will have the hydrant following the arrow, hydrant on this side, piece of 5-inch, to this piece of equipment here, which is essentially just a regulator to keep the pressure consistent, because we want to have the right proportion of foam as a final product. Then you will hook up another piece of 5-inch to this side and run it to the intake of your engine. On the other side, we're going to take one of the pre-connects and connect it again following the arrow here. Pre-connect to this side, and a 2.5 or 3-inch on this side back to the intake of your engine. You will have hard suction connected here to a stinger to your foam. So now we are trying to mix the foam at the appropriate percentage so it brings it to the engine and allow foam to come out of every discharge of the engine. The last piece is to set the dial to the appropriate percentage. So what you will do is use this chart to calculate what that is. The first thing you need to know is the total flow of all of your discharges that you are going to be using. So let's say you only needed to do the top side and you had it set at 500 GPM. In that case, you would go down this chart right here, find 500 GPM, and then go to the appropriate percentage that you want to use. Whether we're using the 1x3, 3x3, or 6% even, the chart only goes to 3%. So we're going to use 3% for 90% of what we do. Go down to the 500, and it tells you that this dial needs to be set at 4.1 to get the appropriate 3% of foam in all of your discharges from that engine. So you turn the dial, set it to the 4.1, and now you have foam at the appropriate percentage coming wherever you want it to go. That's what this system is doing. It goes around the pump and creates foam to all the discharges. Our next piece on this foam truck is the Purple K. We have 2 independent canisters here that are going to be set up. They are removable from this position and taken to the site where you need to use it. You'll have 100 feet of hose that can be used only for its independent setup. These cannot be connected and extended to make 200 feet. It does not work appropriately if you do that. So set the hose up with what it has, follow the directions appropriately as it's labeled here, and use the proppant nozzle. You will see it's labeled for your use. Powder is this line with the purple, and then a normal water line on the bottom. You use them in conjunction. So if we are using this for the appropriate three-dimensional fire, you will work into the target that you're going to work with water flowing or foam if you need, move into position and capture the fire that you are trying to put out, whether it's at a valve or a pipe that's blowing gas, whatever the situation is, you will work in and control the fire with water flowing. Once you have captured it in your cone correctly, you will see this small orifice here is for the powder. And what you're going to do is chemically stop the chain reaction by using the purple K in about a 3-second burst. So you will open this and flow for 3 seconds to put out the fire, and then close this again and secure it. If you allow the chemical to leak past because you didn't close the valve completely, you will clog your line and no longer be able to use this system. The last part is to continue to flow water. The metal that has been heating for the number of minutes that you have allowed the fire to continue will auto-ignite the chemical once again. So we will continue to flow until we no longer see steam production off the metal. Then you know you can move on to your next target or stop your operation. This is our large nozzle. It can operate at 2000 GPM, or yes, 2000 GPM. It's been mounted to the top here, and a question has been asked, can you operate from here? Yes, you can absolutely operate this as is in place. It is preset up. You have a small section of 5-inch that you can use to connect to your discharge directly into here and fight fire from this position. It is also capable of being removed, and there is a movable mount in the Connex at the tank farm where you can place it wherever you need to and put this in place. Also, you could use this by disassembling it, going to the top of an adjacent tank in a safe area, reassembling it in place, and fighting fire from that area. It has a pickup for foam if you wanted to use it that way. The last thing you need to be concerned about is setting the dial appropriately. Inside here, you'll see it is written for 1% or 3%. And to get the appropriate percentage, you align it with your foam pickup. So this will rotate interior, and we should now be set for 1% if we were going to use that. We leave it in 3% because that is primarily what we will use and the percentage of what we're going to fight fire with. This piece is for fighting a seal fire only. So up on top of the tank is a metal lid, and along the edge of the tank is a rubber seal that holds the chemical inside that tank. So sometimes lightning will strike or something will happen where that seal will catch on fire. It is the most common type of fire for these tanks. So to get up there and fight the fire, we're going to create an area of foam where we are protected, then move a second line to go on top and then fight the fire around the edge of the tank. This is what allows us to do this. It's over the edge. So we are going to assemble this. It's found in the red tank on top and also the long pieces on the side in this compartment on the back. You will leave all the connections loose so that this will swivel. Once you've gone up the side of the tank, you've connected all your hoses, and you have your secondary line ready to go, you can then start your flow of foam, throw this over the top of the edge, allow this to swing down into place, and foam will then come out of all directions and push foam around the edge of the tank so that you can then safely get all the way up over the edge and start to work the fire all the way around that rim. That is what this is for. First thing we have in the back is our hard suction that we can use where we need to. The long piece for our over the top or over the edge. And our stingers for foam pickup. They can all be found in the back. The pump for the foam truck itself is all operated from the back. The only thing that you need to have working from the front would be the battery. You do not have to have the truck running to properly use this. Have the battery on, then have your secondary battery on, switched from the back. Once you have power to the back end here, you can go to turn on the pump. You can turn the pump on at that time, and you can have water flowing, your foam pickup connected here. The last piece for you to get foam flowing from the back end is to turn the proportioner on. You have to remember that this, unlike our engines, which are water pumps, this is a foam pump. The water that you have coming in, it is going to try and push the foam into it at the proper percentage that you have calculated or that you have told it to go to. So in this case, we would be at 1%. Once we hit the power button, then we will actually start getting foam, whether it's from our pickup or if we have opened this tank. Remember that the foam in our tank here is as an emergency use. Whether it was a mobile site on the freeway or at the tank farm, we have used all of the foam on site in the Connex, and this is our last emergency bit of foam. So please do not use the foam that is in here. Keep this closed. You will see the percentage or how much foam we have here, and then what you're working as pressure. This will show you and tell you, essentially being in alarm mode, until you have appropriately adjusted your throttle or adjusted the amount of water you have coming in from your pumper, which you would adjust at that side. On this side, you have another ground monitor capable to flow away from the engines if you need to set up. You have multiple ways to adjust where your water is coming from or going to. You can use these in reverse direction if you need to. Over here, you have multiple heads for using foam again. This has its own pickup. And again, you can adjust it for range and how much expansion you have on it. As well as nozzles that are already connected with the foam chamber to create good foam and use this for mop-up. Same with the nozzles that are mounted on the side. You can use these for mop-up or small operations to the side. Again, up here we have the parts broken down for the piece that's going to go over the top for your sill fire. We have additional hard suction, a stinger that lives on the bottom here, and 2 additional pails of the Purple K with the sifter. Now remember, this takes a long time for the powder to settle in these tanks. So this is not something you're going to do on site. This is going to be after the fact. You will not be able to affect a good fire attack waiting around for an hour while this settles. So please do not do this on scene. Your maintenance is fairly simple for this. You have your hydraulic tank over here in this black box. You can open it up and see that you have fluid inside. You have your oil for the engine itself. It works off the diesel on the engine, so your fueling is done where the fuel is for the truck itself. On the side, you'll have a dipstick low. Check your oil. As well as another one of these ports where you can add oil. The foam itself, you can see it's labeled with what type of foam and what percentage. You can come up, open the lid here, remove the screen, and see that our foam is looking good and the tank is full. Last but not least, you have an air minder on the side for your filter system here. Thank you for watching this video. If you have any questions, you can certainly reach out to me or Station 2 Captains, who will have this and should be able to guide you in the right direction.